Alright, I want to talk about my predictions for the DLC. I'm going to have just random gameplay on screen, so it's not going to be completely relevant, but there will be a few screenshots and whatever stuff I can get on the screen. So, first up, we're going to talk about the DLC. Obviously, I want to throw out some predictions and what I think is going to happen, but by all means, please let me know in the comments down below what you think is going to happen, what you would love to see, and doesn't have to align with mine. Also, let me know what you think of the video. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All that jazz helps me out. So, yeah. Alright. We all know we're going to get a Carnage DLC. So, what are we going to think that's going to happen in it? Well, my predictions are very simple. We're going to get something on the lines of Maximum Carnage, but personally, I think we're going to get something a lot more severe than what we got. See, the one thing that I did not like is that the Flame mission was locked behind Peter, and if the game is basically Peter's going to retire, it doesn't make much sense that Miles is going to take on Carnage alone because he would be otherwise screwed. He would be so that it wouldn't matter. I want to get into depth about how OP Carnage is in the comics and all that jazz, but I'm just going to flat out say it with the ideas, like basically the hints in the open world that we're probably going to get expansions to the map with areas that we didn't get, similar to the City That Never Sleeps DLC. Most likely, we're probably going to get a lot of different things, like, if I'm being honest, because with that one DLC, we pretty much had a lot of hints. Like, the one thing that DLC did well is it overlapped three different storylines and merged them together, and because they connected in a certain way. So the Black Cat DLC connected with the Magia DLC, and the Magia connected with the Black Hat and the Sable. And then the Sable DLC wraps everything up. But that's what this DLC could do. But the problem is, I think they could do something like that, but I don't think they're going to do what they did last time, DLC-wise, with it being a 3-part pack. A lot of people did not like that, myself included, but that's neither here nor there. I think they'll do something as long as First Light or Miles Morales for a DLC pack, or they could do something like Arkham Knight with the Season of Infamy and all that, but yeah. So what areas do I think will be showing up? Well, obviously, we're probably going to get expansions to the Queen map and Brooklyn a little bit, but I also think there is because it was name dropped early in the game, which a lot of people missed, mind you, Ravencroft. Ravencroft is an important area to Carnage in the comics, and it was also the only time it was ever mentioned or shown in the games was the Amazing Spider-Man game, which, coincidentally enough, ended with a Carnage boss fight. Even though they didn't really do that character well, it's the only time we ever got it. So, with Carnage probably being the central focus of the DLC, what do I think is going to happen? Well, the first and obvious is we're probably going to get a Morbius side mission. One, because it makes the most sense, and because, honestly, I think at this point, it's kind of annoying that we did not get... We got one mention of Dr. Morgan Michaels, and probably one little thing that was signed by him in Dr. Connor's house, I do believe. So I honestly think that it makes the most sense to use him. I don't know why they didn't. it really doesn't make much sense to me. But yes, I believe the first thing in order of business is we're going to get a Morbius side mission. Another reason I think that is because if we're getting a Absolute Carnage DLC, it makes the most sense to give us a Morbius side mission because of how disastrous both movies handled the characters that they are adapting. And Insomniac has, with their track record, has proven that they can handle very dark characters like Venom and like Carnage. With Carnage as a character, we're basically going to get the vicious psychopath Carnage, the way the TV shows couldn't do, and the way the movie kind of did, but it didn't really do, because it didn't really get that opportunity and the chance to do Carnage justice. Carnage is a sick psychopath, and I want to see a very murderous Carnage. Like how Venom is very strong and hulking, but he is always pretty much a opposite of Peter, a mirror. And that's the one thing that this game kind of did well, is adapting the brotherhood of Harry and also making like Venom kind of like a semblance of that. So with Carnage being the main focus, how do you think that, or how do I think they're going to go with these other storylines? So with the Daredevil hints that we've gotten multiple times and everybody's talking about, which I do not think they're going to do the hand. I'm sorry, the symbol does not look like the hand. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. There was somebody said it reminded them of something else. It was like a demonic figure. I don't know if it's like Jason Blood. No, that's DC. I don't know. Sound off in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. Like, there's a Marvel character with like a satanic symbol carved on their chest. Also, I do believe that we will get a resolution to the Chameleon storyline, and also, I don't know how I feel about Kraven's family all being dead. I find that very weird that they are all killed off. It doesn't make much sense to me completely that they just would kill each other, but who knows. I do think that one could have survived, maybe, but I don't know. With the Chameleon storyline, it makes the most sense. Also, I honestly don't know how I feel about Silk being in the game. We could get with the DLC, get a similar thing with how The City Never Sleeps handled with Miles. So, I really don't know. I do know that Carnage as a villain works best for Peter, and I don't know how they could bring Venom back, but it could be a catalyst for introducing Green Goblin, that basically he breaks out or something happens. Another addition to the open world that I do think they will follow up on is introducing Ravencroft, and also introducing a few extra villains that we might have to deal with. With the Maximum Carnage DLC, it makes the most sense to introduce a few extra villains and a lot of different characters, especially a character that I don't think has ever really been introduced in the games. She was in the Maximum Carnage, or Let There Be Carnage movie, and that is Shriek. But I'm going to be brutally honest, I did not care for the portrayal of that movie, and I really didn't like how they handled the character of Shriek compared to the comics. So, yeah, I think they might introduce Ravencroft if they do, and they might introduce Shriek into the universe. Make the most sense because Shriek has been a major part of the Maximum Carnage storyline in the comics, and also with the name drop of Ravencroft, it really makes the most sense. She was in the Let There Be Carnage movie, but I didn't really care for that portrayal. But regardless, I do think that there will be a lot of different side missions and a very different type of DLC. Because compared to Venom's storyline in the game, I think Carnage is a lot different. While Venom is trying to make the world into, like, symbiotes, Carnage would probably want to kill everyone. I think him going on a bloodbath, him being a murderous psychopath, like literally having just him killing civilians randomly or pulling a Victor Zsasz from Arkham City in a way. Just being very sick and sadistic and very much gruesome. Like, this DLC needs to be more Wolverine style, immature, killer, psychopath esque type of DLC. It makes the most sense, and it really works. And do I think Yuri will come back, or do I think they will kill her off? I don't think they will kill her off, but I do think that she will nearly get killed in the DLC, because I do think she will come back because of her connections with Cletus Cassidy in this universe. But I honestly don't think they're going to kill her off. I think Carnage will come very close to killing Yuri, but I also don't think that they will kill her. I could be wrong, but we just got her in as Wraith in the universe. I think it's a little early. Now, do I think Wilson Fisk could come back? It's a little early to say, but I do not think we could get a mission with him, but I don't know. Sequel-wise, what do I think is going to happen in the sequel? Because enough talk about this DLC. There's a lot of different things I could say. Villain-wise, there needs to be some more villains, and the DLC needs to be a lot darker compared to Venom, because Carnage is a completely different character, and he's a lot more murderous. He's a tried and true villain. Compared to Venom, yes, Venom kills, but he was a villain in the game, but he is more of an anti-hero or an anti-villain in a way. So, with Carnage being, a psychopath, yeah. So, sequel-wise, what do I think is going to happen? The first and obvious one is I know that they're trying to push Miles to be the main character, but I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't think it would work for right now. I think, yes, this game pushes Peter into retirement, but I honestly think with Doc Ock, his connection to Peter, and Green Goblin's connection to Peter, they really don't connect. I think Norman Spider, connects to Miles, maybe, and with Silk as a character as well. I really don't know how I feel about Miles having to handle Green Goblin and all that stuff. It just doesn't work. So, what do I think is going to happen? Well, honestly, I do think there was a YouTube video. It did say that people, they're writing the story and something, and it's like MJ gets pregnant. I think, yes, that could happen in the story. I think that is probably something that could happen for Marvel Spider-Man 3. It is something that I think probably works, especially now, Peter becoming a father. So pulling that from Spider-Verse and stuff could be an interesting angle, a young parent. Because I'm kind of sick of the storyline of we've already seen this a couple times now. Peter trying to get a job and him trying to manage his life with MJ. I think with them now having somewhat of their stuff sorted out, and Peter doing this whole thing with the Emily May stuff, I think he could actually be a full-time teacher now. No more Spider-Man, no more dealing with that stuff. If he wanted to. I think the story needs to go in a way that balances both Spider-Man better, because Green Goblin is an interesting character to do. Now, I do believe with Doc Ock being a central focus as a villain, they could do something on the lines of what Ultimate Spider-Man did with Doc Ock, puppeteering Norman just a little bit, kind of in a weird way, doing the reverse of what Norman did to him, in a way. That just makes the most sense for me. Do I think that other villains or other things will probably happen? Most likely. Venom is most likely an obvious thing to come back. With the massive hints that we've gotten, and for the DLC, most likely, but I don't know about the third game. I think the third game is going to be the final chapter for Spider-Man Peter Parker. I think with Green Goblin being and Doc Ock being the central focuses, being two of the most dangerous villains and the most personal villains to Spider-Man in the comics, I think in a central point for Marvel Spider-Man 3, you cannot have that game without Peter Parker. So, how does Miles fit in? Him taking Peter's role as basically Miles will be the where Peter Parker was in Marvel Spider-Man 1. And I think that works the best. And also mentoring his basically sister. I don't know how do you not really when a parent basically gets with somebody like his Cindy Moon in a way. So it's like she's like his sister in this universe. Now I do have a theory that her father, which a friend did mention that he thinks that Chameleon is Cindy Moon's dad. I was looking at photos, my friend. I was rewatching that scene on my stream, and I was looking at photos of Chameleon. Completely different faces. Yes, they look very similar, but no. Sorry. Also, I do think that Cindy will probably already have her powers. Something that is interesting is that the mother of Cindy is already gone in this universe. And going off of the fact that Rio kind of looks like Cindy, like Cindy's mom, most likely, that's going to be a very interesting dynamic. And I would think that with her relationship with Miles, maybe she was bitten by a similar spider to Miles, or maybe the same spider, but it gave her different abilities. Maybe. I also think that with Green Goblin and Doc Ock being the main villains and antagonists of the next game, who else could be a part of it? And this is where I'm going to speculate that Alastor Smythe will probably play a role in the next game. We haven't seen him since the Amazing Spider-Man 1 game, and honestly, I think it makes the most sense for Norman to basically make a task force for hunting down Spider-Man. Also, with Norman's track record of how he's handled Oscorp, we could see something on the lines of Spider-Man Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 with how they handle him. That is just me speculating, but personally, there's a lot of things I could say. But yeah,